to UN-driven programs like the PCP continues to impact our communities, our family farms, our property taxes, and our future generations. With residents already funding federal and provincial climate initiatives, these programs add a third level of taxation and strain local budgets. In 2017, Oxford County voluntarily joined the PCP protocol, an emissions reduction initiative developed by ICLEI Canada and funded through the Federation of Canadian Municipalities. This decision bypassed provincial authority and aligned the county with federal and international agendas. UN Sustainable Development Goals and Agenda 2030 directly affect travel, property rights, farming, and rural growth. While net zero is marketed as a reasonable goal, in practice, it is economically reckless, scientifically flawed, and delivers more pain than gain. The PCP program isn't true climate action. It's a corporate marketing scheme that lures municipalities into spending tax dollars on costly, unnecessary projects. Councils are pressured to cut emissions already offset by nature, while property taxes rise and core services are cut to fund ICLEI's tech-based solutions. Their corporate sponsors profit from contracts for smart meters, EV infrastructure, and carbon tracking software, while local economies face more regulation, reduced property rights, and underfunded services. Councils are responsible for directing public funds toward local priorities, and that requires meaningful public consultation. With that in mind, I want to highlight the clear gap between this Council's aggressive climate agenda and the actual concerns of Oxford residents, as shown in the 2025 Public Budget Engagement Survey, compared to climate programs driven by ICLEI or affiliated staff. Oxford County has declared itself thoroughly committed to sustainability and a leader in addressing climate change. We see this in the climate action plans that include 100% renewable energy, zero waste plan, the Green Fleet Plan, Partners for Climate Protection Protocol, Renewable Energy Action Plan. And the CAO's 2025 strategic budget goals further emphasize this, with Climate Action Plan, Community Environmental Sustainability, Internal Diversity, Equity and Inclusion, Community Diversity, Equity and Inclusion, Safe and Well Oxford, and Advocacy. The staff summary of the 2025 Public Budget Survey even opens by celebrating Oxford's climate leadership and commitment to ambitious goals, saying, "The county is focused on adaptation and mitigation of climate change impacts and its leadership in sustainability. Oxford County was the first municipality in Ontario to commit to 100% renewable energy and the second in Canada. The challenge for the future is the continued work of turning these ambitious and powerful goals into tangible actions." But when we look at what residents actually said in that survey, we see a very different picture. When asked what the top 5 community priorities were, residents answered, number 1, affordable housing, 2, safe communities and policing, 3, active living, parks, trails, recreation, 4 was infrastructure, roads, bridges, and stormwater, and the 5th was long-term care. Environment and climate change ranked 17th out of the 26 on the list. This clear disconnect has led many people to believe Council is prioritizing global climate ideology over immediate local needs, at a time when transparency, accountability, and autonomy are more important than ever. We're seeing municipal democracy eroded by growing control from upper levels of government and technocratic administrations. This raises serious questions about the balance of power between elected officials, unelected staff, and the public's role in governance. Under Section 224 of the Ontario Municipal Act, councillors are responsible for representing the public and the municipality's best interests, developing and evaluating policies and programs, and ensuring accountability and transparency. These duties make it clear decision-making authority lies with council, not staff or consultants. Their role is to advise, not decide. Council must determine whether global climate frameworks reflect local needs or impose unnecessary costs and external control. Programs like the ICLEI PCP must be evaluated, and only council has the power to approve, reject, or withdraw. Your decisions matter. Currently, we are seeing national and international trends to shift away from climate programs, which our second speaker, Maggie, will cover. The almost 800 residents of Oxford County that signed the petition brought to council today requesting withdrawal from the PCP program believe it is imperative to engage residents and stakeholders in public consultations to restore trust and ensure accountability for policy decisions. With that, I make the following 4 recommendations to council. Number 1, pause and reevaluate the PCP program. Conduct a full review with public input. Number 2, improve transparency. Disclose all PCP-related spending to date. 3, withdraw from PCP program. Halt further implementation of climate action plans. And 4, refocus on local environmental stewardship. As residents, we value your leadership and dedication to our community, and we trust you will make the right decision on behalf of Oxford County. Thank you very much for your time this morning.
I appreciate that the gallery is full. I really do. I love it when the gallery is full. Any of you who are here in support of KICLEI, I know you will know that on their code of conduct, on their page, they point out that disruptions of council meetings are to be discouraged by their organization, and certainly I, as the head of this council, will not permit them here. There are 10 people in this room who were democratically elected by the citizens of Oxford County to represent them, and this is a working meeting, and it will not be disrupted. Next delegation is item 6.3. Oh, sorry, actually, before we do that, questions from council for the previous delegate who has left the podium. I have a few questions for you.
I'm happy to take the questions, Warren. We were just going to leave them until Maggie's finished it.
No, I have some for you.
Okay. Of course.
First one I have is, having done some research on your excellent website.
Marcus, your microphone.
Thank you. Having done some research on your excellent website, do you think that climate change is real? I'm asking the delegate. Your delegation will be up in a few minutes.
I believe there is climate change, but I believe that our focus here should be local environmental stewardship.
Thank you. Do you think that humans contribute to climate change?
Could, yes.
Do you think that humans can do something to mitigate climate change? Sorry, your delegation will be up in a minute. Do you want to just take a seat and give her the full respect of her time in front of council? Thank you.
I'm sorry.
I didn't get your answer to, do you think humans can do something to mitigate climate change?
I think in this province, we absorb more carbon than we admit. There isn't much more you can do than appreciate the natural carbon sink that we have in the boreal forest across this country.
Okay. Do you think that this council has been, and I'm quoting from your website, quietly absorbed into global climate networks?
I think about 500 municipalities across Canada have been exactly that, yes.
But again, with your focus on local action, and your delegation is here today to these 10 councillors, democratically elected by Oxford County residents. Do you think that this council has been quietly absorbed into global climate networks?
I think the one in 2017 that adopted the motion was, certainly. And I think that you have gone along as part of the program and part of the staff initiations.
So you won't answer whether this council is being quietly absorbed or not?
I don't think I understand your question.
It's just wording from your website. It says that your website says that local councils have been, quote, quietly absorbed into global climate networks. So
Yes, I would agree with that.
Okay. Next question is, you claim that there are groups that, quote, influence policy without public accountability. Do you think there is accountability here and now and at municipal election time?
Yes.
And you claim that communities, quote, lose independent decision-making, end quote. Do you think that this council makes independent decisions?
I hope you all do.
And you claim that municipalities must allocate local budgets to meet net zero commitments, often at the expense of other community needs. What do you think is the mechanism whereby the 10 of us must do this, as your website says?
I'm sorry, the needs of
Allocate local budgets to meet net zero commitments is what your website says. Like it says that we must, so I'm just wondering how does that must happen?
I'm sure that's the same as I wonder why you would commit to UN policies is the same. And you're asking me about local ones. I think that's a priority. I wonder why you would be engaged with UN policies, external influences.
You claim that, quote, requirements increase taxes, regulations, and restrictions, but we just received our annual energy report, I think, 2 months ago, I think, and our annual energy report for Oxford County made it clear that actually many of our commitments that some would characterize as green or in your delegation as external influences that are costing us money are actually saving us money. So I'm just not finished my question. So in the context of our green fleet, which I know you specifically mentioned, our green fleet vehicles are costing us less money than the previous vehicles they replaced. We just implemented a Turner Wellfield. We just implemented a wellfield solar program to generate local energy for that wellfield that protects that source water, and in the long run, that's going to make us money. Our energy footprint, the amount of energy that we use for our buildings per resident, per employee is lower per unit than it was before. So these things are saving us money. So do you think that we should abandon those initiatives that save us money simply because they're environmental initiatives?
No, what I would do is question the metrics that you use to predict the savings far off in the future. It's like the solar wind panels in Woodstock that have a lifespan of 20 years that you take 30 years to pay for. It's hard to measure using them. I'm not an expert on your metrics, but I find it hard to understand how you predict savings in the future with the electric vehicles.
Yeah, I guess that's it. That's all my questions for you, I think.
Thank you very kindly for your questions.
Any other members of council have any questions for the delegation? Thank you. So next delegation then is 6.3 Kickley, Canada. Maggie Braun. I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you. Now, can everyone hear me okay, if the mic is there? Or? No, they're having trouble in the back. Good morning, Warden Ryan and members of Oxford County. It's good to be here today. My name is Maggie Braun, and I have a background in ecosystem management and a deep commitment to communities and fiscal responsibility. I am the founder of Kickley Canada, a national initiative helping communities and councils across the country to understand the implications of international climate frameworks on Canadian municipalities through programs like the Partners for Climate Protection program. Over the past 2 years, I've spoken to many residents and councillors across this country, and the same pattern is heard over and over again. Canadians want true environmental stewardship, and at the same time are deeply concerned that international climate frameworks are being embedded into municipal bylaws and budgets without sufficient scrutiny, cost-benefit analysis, and public input. Marie has laid out a good case for Oxford to consider, and I'm here to support that and offer context and help chart a practical path forward for this council and for your community. So what is happening across Canada? In the past year, municipalities across Canada are pressing pause or withdrawing from the PCP and even the Federation of Canadian Municipalities altogether, especially rural councils. Here are a few examples. In Douro-Dummer, they delayed a UN-driven official plan, insisting on public input before further action. In Thorold, Ontario, they withdrew from the PCP, the first in Canada, after discovering that the program was unnecessary and that the costs were excessive, essentially adding a fourth level of carbon tax to their community. Tiny Township recently launched the first ever cost analysis of this 30-year program, a program that has never had a council look into what it is actually costing their community. Renfrew County has requested an emissions and sequestration report based on their population, what are their emissions, and based on their natural assets and carbon sinks, what is their rural county absorbing naturally. In Alberta, Wheatland County has called for a unified stance among Canadian rural municipalities to boycott the FCM conference this year. While Stettler 6 and the town of Vermilion have withdrawn entirely from the FCM, citing a lack of rural representation and ideological overreach. In Saskatchewan, the Rural Municipality Association passed a resolution stating that CO2 is not a pollutant and stating that they would no longer endorse net zero by 2050 policies because they were harmful to their local communities and their local economies. And of course, in the United States recently, they've pulled out of the Paris Agreement, and states like Tennessee have banned municipal partnerships with organizations like ICLEI, citing issues of sovereignty and local autonomy. The momentum is clear, and Oxford County, these 10 councillors, as you stated, are in a prime position to show leadership. So why does this matter here in Oxford County? Oxford is currently advancing through the PCP program, which requires tracking, reporting, and demonstrating progress towards net zero. That means new tech, new staff, new training, tracking tools, and contracts with vendors. These companies are often tied to ICLEI and profit from climate compliance programs like the PCP, a for-profit organization. This affects your budgets, land use, small businesses, farming, and how decisions are made. For example, Oxford's Green Fleet Plan proposed allocating $13 million of your taxpayer funds to electrifying your vehicles. In that plan, it stated that this would reduce annual CO2 emissions by less than 400 tons per year. 400 tons of CO2 in the atmosphere equates to 13 billionth of 1% of global CO2. Here's a visual of that. $13 million to reduce greenhouse gas emissions in the atmosphere by 13 billionth of 1% annually. That is a number that should be asked when these proposals come forward to council. What is our actual environmental return on investment for the money that we're being asked to spend? It's like tossing a pebble in the ocean to stop a wave. Yet under the PCP framework, this is called progress. Worse, within the PCP framework, all of Canada's pre-existing carbon sinks are not counted. Even though rural Ontario all our provinces and the country as a whole are all net negative in carbon. Forests, wetlands, farmlands are all ignored within this framework. Yet, planting a tree counts as a reduction. Make that make sense to your farmers in this county. We, as Kickly Canada, across Canada, have had great success in bringing these simple facts forward to our councillors and through our newsletter. And municipal councillors are paying attention and are stepping up to acknowledge that there is something going on here that needs to be addressed. Meanwhile, ICLEI is in full defense mode, distributing talking points to their affiliated staff, claiming that the PCP program is free, voluntary, and somehow does not make a formal municipal partnership with their organization. But let's be clear. Free to join does not mean free to implement. And voluntary, in the context of a program that is based on long-term reduction targets, is a pay-to-play program. It is compliance-based, and it is locking future councils into continuing down the road of meeting those reduction targets. And of course, the 2017 Oxford resolution clearly stated that you joined the FCM ICLEI Partners for Climate Protection program. That is a formal relationship. Now, most councillors across this country and even here in Oxford have no idea of who ICLEI is. This is no longer about emissions. It's about transparency, accountability, and local autonomy. The deeper you go into these programs, the harder it becomes to pivot. Soon, carbon budgets, zoning restrictions, mandatory building retrofits, and emission-based funding hooks. It starts with a resolution, and it ends with an expensive bureaucracy. Now is the time to choose a better path, one that reflects Oxford's real priorities and real ecological realities. The way forward. Oxford County can lead by investing in what matters here, not what is dictated globally. You can protect your natural carbon sinks, your forests, wetlands, and farmlands. You can promote conservation, parks, trails, streams, and rivers. All of these things your residents supported in your 2022 community survey. They did not call for, nor was it asked of them, whether they supported net zero by 2050 targets or a mini municipal Paris Accord or large-scale green infrastructure spending and tracking software. That was not in the survey, and your residents were not consulted on that before you agreed to join this program. And even if the residents did prioritize CO2 reductions as their top priority, which it would, based on all of your municipal plans, you would think that they did somewhere say that, because that is coming through your municipal plans as the top priority. Sorry. Even if they did prioritize this, the solution is not expensive tech-based solutions coming from multinational corporations and foreign NGOs. The solution could be a made-in-Canada solution, one that works with your farmers to sequester CO2 into the soil, regenerating the soil, and it's nature-based, and it would directly address this problem if this is the problem that we want to address. If we want to absorb CO2 out of the atmosphere, we can do it with our soils and with our farmers, and the livestock is the solution through regenerative agriculture, not expensive tech-based solutions. $13 million to reduce it by that, you could achieve that same goal within 10 years and absorb all the CO2 that you're currently emitting here. So moving on. The key is for this council to keep its focus on local priorities, the families, the businesses, the farmers here in this area, and what it is that they want you to focus on. And having your agenda continuously clogged up by the greenhouse gas reduction plans is a direct result of signing up for the Partners for Climate Protection program. That's why we're here to address that. So Marie has already made strong recommendations, and I want to echo that and expand with 4 practical steps that you can take moving forward. So this council could request a full financial audit on what is being spent on this program. But let's be honest, FCM and ICLEI should have 30 years worth of this data, and the fact that they haven't published it and made it public on what it is costing municipalities to run this program over the last 30 years is on them, and it shouldn't take any more of your staff time digging into this program to figure out how much it's costing. They should be doing that. And we already know it's not free, and by claiming it's free, that's a problem in itself, and I would just move on from that. You could invite public delegations, but that's already happening here today. 2 delegations, 3 very well done letters, a full report, 777 signatures on a petition, and a room full supporting the recommendation to withdraw from the program. You could request legal confirmation of your right to withdraw, but you don't need it. The joining resolution clearly says that this program is voluntary and that you can withdraw at any time. No legal strings attached. What you should do, and what we are recommending, is that you move a notice of motion. Add a resolution to the upcoming agenda. Review it and vote on it. We have already provided you with a full draft of a resolution that you could pass to withdraw from this program. You came in through a joining resolution, you can withdraw through a resolution. Simple, clean, done. It costs nothing, it delays nothing, and it shows leadership. Oxford can stop wasting staff time and funds chasing negligible CO2 cuts, and instead focus on real pollution and real priorities. As a bonus, you'll be joining the national conversation. You won't be the first to withdraw, but you'll be among the first to lead. And this country is in dire need of leadership. And I believe it starts at the local level. And the revolution in civic engagement across this country is going to start in local councils, where we have a direct connection with our councils, and we can look to you to lead our communities. So in closing, your residents are watching, Canadians are watching. They're asking if anyone in government is truly listening to them. They're not worried about CO2 graphs. They're worried about their farms, small businesses, their families, and where their tax dollars are going. Today, this council can prove that municipal democracy is alive and well. You don't need the province or the feds to give you permission to put Oxford County first. You already have that authority. All we're asking is that you use it and that you use it wisely. Withdraw from the Partners for Climate Protection program. Keep it off your agenda, out of your budgets, and thus keep international NGOs and foreign corporations at bay. Thank you so much for your time and for your leadership in Oxford County on behalf of all your residents.
Thank you. Questions from Council. Deputy Warden Petrie.
Thank you. I have 2 questions. The town of Ingersoll just partnered with UTRCA and put a grant application to FCM for, I believe, $169,000 that will help plant 4,300 trees within our community in 2 years. Should we take that money?
I think so.
But FCM is not good, right?
So FCM we have to use our discernment when interacting with any organization, correct? And the FCM, most of their programs, when you look at their website, they are focused on climate and other ideological issues. Now, getting a grant from the FCM to plant trees is a grant that you could apply for. My concern with the
So
FCM...
just to follow up on that, should I ask you every time we want to make a decision?
No, you should ask your residents, sir.
Second question is, would you be, in the name of transparency, would you be able to provide a list of all the funding sources that your organization receives?
Absolutely, all, except for they all come from small donors through my Substack. So it would be giving you the names of all the people here. Is that what you would like?
You receive no donations from any corporation?
No, zero.
Thank you. That's my questions. Thank you.
Any questions from council? Councillor Gilvazy.
Thank you. Through you, Warden. You had mentioned about farmers and carbon sinks, and I'm going to say I actually worked on something like this about 15 years ago or so. It seems like a past lifetime. Are you aware of any jurisdictions or countries that allow that? So like the things that I'm curious about is like farmers preserving woodlots and that they should get like, you know, carbon credits or carbon capture for that. Nothing's really advanced in this country at all in that regard from what I've seen. So are you aware of any other countries that have adopted something like that?
I'm not aware of countries or provincial, state level, or municipal level agreements like that with farmers, but what we are proposing for communities that do have a high interest in CO2 reductions is to work directly with the farmers through programs that would increase carbon sequestration into the soil. And they could also work with their local universities and directly measure within 10 years CO2 in the soil going from 2% to 10%, and then how far deep it goes. And that is a program that we can put our hands on, that the community can be involved with, and that would kill two birds with one stone. So the people that are concerned with the CO2 in the atmosphere, they would be they would have that need met and that concern. At the same time, for myself, with a background in ecosystem management, soil degradation is a real concern across the world and our country. And restoring our soil would be a massive win for this generation to tackle. And I think we can do both all in one with a nature-based climate action plan that would be fairly simple to implement and run a pilot project on. But somebody has to take the lead on that in our country, and it's going to have to start with a local level council.
Anyone else? Councillor Martin.
Thank you, Warden Ryan. Early in your presentation, you mentioned that there are municipalities that are pausing or withdrawing. You mentioned Thorold, you mentioned Wheatland, County of Settler, Tiny Township, County of Renfrew. When I look up Wheatland and County of Settler, was that in direct response to your work or your consultation with them or a delegation with them?
So my newsletter does go out to a fair number of councillors across the country. I can't say for sure it was a direct result. I did speak with the councillors from Wheatland County at their recent AGM in Alberta, and the boycott, to boycott the FCM, that came from the councillor who attended the FCM conference from Wheatland last year. Came back and was asked by the council, as always, how was the conference? Give us your report. And they basically said, I don't know what we're doing there. This is, all the programs there are urban-centric. There's really nothing there for the rural communities. All of the events that had to do with rural were completely overbooked, and there wasn't room to go into them because they're the majority of Canadian municipalities are rural, are small towns, so you would think that they would have more programs that had to do with serving rural priorities, and they don't. The FCM is an organization that has shifted gears about 30 years ago and is implementing something called sustainable development, which is directly related to redirecting population growth away from small towns and rural communities to high-density urban areas. It is now a very urban-centric organization, and the Wheatland County and RM of Bonnyville at their rural municipal AGM put forward a resolution to look into working with rural municipalities across Canada to create a new nationwide organization that would better advocate for rural communities at the federal level. And I think that that is the direction that this country is going to go in. And it would be a beautiful thing to see rural communities across Canada unite and work towards their priorities being advanced instead of just the 10 cities of Canada.
As a follow-up then, Warden Ryan, so to be clear, the Wheatland and the County of Settler, in their letter to Federation of Canadian Municipalities, very clearly articulate what you've just said, that they didn't find the annual conference to be relevant to rural issues and that some of these sessions were oversubscribed and was it the best use of their time to attend. So they did not withdraw their membership from Federation of Canadian Municipalities.
Yeah.
In no way in their letter to FCM did they indicate that they were pausing, excuse me, the partnership on climate change, on climate protection. Their choice to not participate in a conference has nothing whatsoever to do with the issue before us today. I find it a little misleading that you've identified these municipalities as municipalities who are backing away from this issue when this issue and their choice not to participate in an annual conference are apples and elephants.
They weren't part of the Partners for Climate Protection program to begin with, and the FCM...
Then it's highly irrelevant to refer to them in this subject matter.
I wouldn't suggest that because when you look at the organizational structure, the Partners for Climate Protection program is administered by the FCM. This is one of many programs that they put forward to municipalities that are directly tied to the United Nations Sustainable Development Agenda, Net Zero, Agenda 2030, Agenda 2050, and so on. All the FCM programs, their asset management program, everything is directly related to the climate change reduction agenda. So it's not apples and oranges. The FCM and ICLEI administrate the PCP program, and communities that have an issue with that are pulling out.
I'll respectfully disagree.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Councillor Palmer.
You accept the comment?
I think my usual practice is to wait until there's a motion on the floor for a comment. So I think I'm going to suggest that we wait and see if there's a motion on the floor and then comment.
Thank you.
Anyone else? I have a few questions.
Great.
Your, again, excellent website says that our mission is to ensure that decisions affecting Canadians are made locally, reflecting the values, needs, and priorities of our communities, not imposed by global agendas and external interests. So a couple of questions based on that then. Do you think that this council is local?
I do.
Do you think this council is democratically elected?
I do.
We publish all our agendas online. All our meetings are open to the public, available to watch online. We get input from residents in Speak Up Oxford. Every member's contact info is available online. So do you think that this council is transparent?
I do.
So if a local democratic and transparent council should choose policies that reflect residents' values, needs, and priorities, shouldn't we do that?
The purpose of KICLEI Canada is to bring the people back into the local councils and to get involved at the local level. So what I've noticed going to councils is we are they are not usually full of the people. The people aren't necessarily paying attention to what's happening on the local agenda. So my goal is to encourage people to pay attention to what is on the agenda so that they can provide feedback so that it can the system can work the way it's intended to.
I love that. A couple of other things then. You, in your presentation, you talked about the cost-benefit analysis that we should do for some of the policies that you referenced. So question, are you aware that our budget process is transparent and specifically asks for public input annually? We have quarterly financial updates and that we have you talked about getting an audit, but we already have an annual full financial audit. Were you aware of those practices here?
I am, but the trouble that we're finding when we're trying to look into the cost of this program as a resident or, somebody from the outside, a consultant coming in to find out how much is a program costing, we're not seeing the items for the programs properly referenced in the budget. So it's really hard to determine, okay, how much were the consultants? How much is the data tracking software that's being purchased? How much is the staff training? It would be a huge list to go through and find all of that information. So what we're asking for is an audit that would look at the actual cost of just that program and how it's distributed throughout your various sections of your budget, because that information is really hard to find.
Yeah, I think that's it for questions. I might have a comment, but I'll leave it there. Oh, sorry, Councillor Martin.
Just as a follow-up to your last comment, who would you like to pay for that audit?
As I said in my presentation, it's very disappointing that the FCM and ICLEI have not put forward this information publicly. It should be, instead of, dying on the hill of saying that the program is free, they should publish how much it is costing municipalities of various sizes to implement their climate action plans from milestone 1, the extensive data collection, to working with a consultant to set reduction targets, to develop the climate action plan, and then all the capital expenditures that municipalities are deciding to do to implement their climate action plan, and then milestone 5 to repeat the data collection process every other year. That's a lot of information, and you would think that the FCM and ICLEI would have this information and would publish it for communities and councils instead of, I don't want this community to pay the staff to go through and do this audit. I think that all 522 municipalities signed up for this program should work together and ask the FCM and ICLEI to do the cost analysis of what it costs to run their program. And further, when we get to 2050 and there's still residual emissions, their next step is to bring in carbon sequestration plants, carbon capture plants to deal with the CO2 emissions that you can't address.
So you want
there's
FCM to pay for it?
costs.
You want FCM to pay for the audit?
I would like FCM to publish this data, absolutely. I can't understand why they won't. It seems like they are stuck to the slogan, the program is free to participate. And, common sense Canadians, anyone who has, fallen victim to a marketing scheme knows better that things aren't just free. Anything that says it's free comes with a catch, and this is one of those programs.
Just a question for staff to clarify. Is Oxford County currently a member of ICLEI or FCM?
T. Ward, we are not a member of FCM. We are, as per the resolution of council from 2017, we did sign on to the climate, the Partners for Climate Change program. However, FCM does make programs open to municipalities even without membership, which is where this partnership falls under. And similarly to the Deputy Warden's comments with regards to funding of programs. So locally, we are able to kind of pick and choose what we want to be involved in through the FCM.
Follow up then, do we pay any fees to be involved in either of those?
No, we don't.
Thank you. Any other questions from council? Not seeing any. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Is there a motion from any members of council to deal with these delegations? Deputy Warden.
I'll move that the delegations be received as information.
As the mover, do you wish to speak to that?
Would you like to second that? Seconded. No, just receive it. Yeah.
Any discussion? I want to thank both delegates and everybody in the gallery for coming today and as you say, engaging with their local council. It happens not nearly enough that people come and make delegations, people come and fill the gallery and tell us what they think, and I want to thank you all for doing that. I also want to thank you for pointing out many of the policies that that I am particularly proud of at Oxford County in the middle of my second term, and that I know that many members of this council are proud of as well. And I want to thank you for pointing out our leadership on these issues, because I think that you know, unfortunately we disagree, but a lot of the policies that you were critical of are ones that I think are this council thinks are good. They are working for our residents, not only from an environmental standpoint, but from a financial standpoint, and that our residents value. With respect to transparency and accountability, I've campaigned 3 times. All 3 times I was very transparent with residents that, you know, 100% renewable energy and climate action were essential to my role on a municipal council. And I expect myself to be accountable for that commitment, that I'm going to follow through on it, and I will not flip-flop on it. So I want to thank you for pointing out our leadership on those environmental issues, because I'm particularly proud of all of them. Any other comments from council? Councillor Palmer.
Thank you, Warden Ryan. I want to thank Marie. She comes to most of our council meetings. She's been an import from London, and her husband Alan, and Maggie for coming and showing, but also to the many people here who call me mayor. It's very much appreciated that locals will take control of a subject that they think is being out of control. At our council meeting last night, it was impressed upon me that I should try to bring back from spending on things that are made to be paid for by the province and by the federal government, things like homelessness, climate change, and actually start to spend more money on things that we are responsible for. The example last night was the poor state of County Road 14. I came up that way this morning. I lost count of the number of bumps, and if I was going up Muir Line, I'd have to be careful on some of the bridges because there's massive potholes. We spend millions and millions of dollars on things that both senior governments should be spending their money on, and we could maybe look after that, but you got to pay for it. We have to start putting our own money in areas that we are responsible for. So I want to thank everybody for coming today. That's it. Thank you.
Anyone else? Councillor Gavesi.
Thank you, Warden. Thank you to the delegations that presented today. And speaking just on behalf of myself, I think that I have a due diligence to always listen to different sides. Carbon tax, obviously, is not popular because it was just dropped to 0% for a reason. You know, we've seen that about a month ago when we saw what it did at the gas tanks, and we all know that those things do add cost to food. I know a farmer who paid $600 for propane, but $923 in carbon tax. So it does drive up food prices. So I just think as a county councillor, I was elected to listen to all constituents, and there are times where sometimes we agree and sometimes we don't, and we see that around this table. I mean, that's what democracy is. So I appreciate different viewpoints and having the delegations today. Thank you.
Anyone else? Councillor Schaefer.
Thank you, Warden, through you. Yeah, I'd like to echo those comments from Councillor Gavesi. I really appreciate the passion that this group is showing us. I mean, we may not agree with everything they say, but they do deserve a chance to talk to us. And I think as councillors, we need to have a balance between battling climate change and being respectful to the taxpayers of this county. And I think we can do both. And again, so I just want to thank the group for coming today.
Anyone else? Councillor Accioni.
Thank you, through you, Warden. Just a general statement of, again, appreciation. I love seeing full houses. If more people were to come out on a regular basis, come to our meetings, listen to what we listen to when we sit here and we make decisions, I think there'd be a lot more understanding on how we make those decisions. I encourage the public to get involved around those budget times, to listen to those discussions, because, you know, it does matter. Take a lot of pride in our transparency. I think we are very fiscal responsible in most situations of decision-making when it comes to what's better on every scenario. The cost-benefit process is ongoing, especially in myself. I'll speak to when I'm voting on an item. If there's not a good return on the investment, then I won't support it. So, and at the end of the day, I just want to say thanks to everybody.
Anyone else? Not seeing anyone. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Thank you. And next up is reports from departments and 8.1 community planning. 8.1